and girls, your attention, please.
Hello and welcome back inside the Park for May for podcast number 954, the Dutch Grand Prix review. This is Todd.
No, Todd, not now.
AKA Negative Camera. You know what we do on race weekends. We always do this.
We watch one, then we talk about it. Then we watch one, then we talk about it. Come on, Todd.
That's exactly what we do on race weekends. But before doing that, I reckon I have to go find a professional driver who also happens to be the sporting director of the Aston Martin team, the Heart of Racing Aston Martin team. You know who we're talking about. Oh, yeah.
Rick from out of the wasteland. He's bad. He's beautiful. He's crazy. It's...
Hello, everybody. This is Paul Charles, the International.
Oh, Paul. It's,
Yes.
You've, like the F1 drivers, you had a summer break, a full summer break. You did nothing.
Lazing around by the pool. Yeah.
How was your summer break?
Yeah, I don't know what that means. Yeah, I think I was at a racetrack every weekend, quite honestly. But
Yeah.
just not an F1 racetrack, right?
Right. No summer break for Paul.
Yeah, no, I wasn't playing tennis with Patrick Depailler and Jacques Lafitte or any of that stuff.
No, you weren't.
No.
You weren't in the swimming in the med off the back of a yacht with some of the drivers and stuff like that.
No.
You were working, Paul.
Working.
Working and racing.
Wouldn't want it any other way.
That's right. You got a big weekend coming up.
We do.
Yeah.
We got two races going on this weekend. So we got WEC with the hypercars and the GT3 cars, and at Coda, oddly enough, 2.5 hours away from here, from where I am now. But I've got to be at the SRO Barber race, which is our GT3 and GT4 teams racing. So we're dual American races this weekend, which is the first time so far. So it's a little frustrating, that they're on the same weekend, but it's okay.
Yeah.
We got some good stuff to shoot for on both
So it's
sides.
you and the Hannahs and Gray and everybody heading down to NOLA.
Yeah,
Barber. You said Barber.
Barber Motorsports Park.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's
and the GT3 car, Gray and Darren have been on the podium 3 out of the last 4 races. So that's been really good turn of events. And the Hannahs are chasing fourth in the championship in the Pro GT4 stuff. So
that's great.
All to play for, as they say.
It is all to play for. Yes.
Yeah.
Well, that's exciting. Exciting. Well, with all that just, free time you had on your summer break, I'm assuming you got the Dutch Grand Prix squeezed in.
I
over
did.
This
I
weekend.
even got any practices and qualifyings in and stuff.
Wow.
Yeah, actually, this was a weekend where I wasn't actually racing, so I decided to indulge myself a bit more, and it was interesting.
Nice.
It was good. It's an interesting track, right? Quite different from everything else. Yeah.
It is. Yeah, it's been around a long time, Paul, since 1952, when your dad was probably driving a Morris Minor around Essex.
Or an Austin A7, I think.
An Austin A7. Your dad's cooler than a Morris Minor, let's be honest.
He is, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah. Have you ever driven a Morris Minor, Paul?
No, I have not. But I've known people who have.
Yeah?
I don't know. That means nothing.
The successful vacuum cleaner salesman in South Essex driving those, right? Yeah, okay.
Yeah, and the headmistress at the school.
Yeah, right.
Right.
Yep, since around 1952. Certainly over the weekend, it's that coastal weather, right? Kind of changing cloud cover, changing conditions, temps up and down, little sprinkles of rain over the weekend. Over 300,000 people were there this weekend. Pirelli, trying to mix it up a little bit, brought softer compounds this weekend, tried to prompt a two-stopper. And, then we're quick to the press saying, hey, we've done the numbers. And the numbers suggest that the two-stopper is the fastest way around this thing. And the teams are like, yeah, but if you could actually pass around here, and because of traffic, and because of 23-second pit delta, no, a one-stopper is probably the fastest way around here,
Yeah. I mean, it's an interesting, just with the wind changes, the sand coming off the dunes.
Yeah.
The different cambers in the corners, which I think is very interesting, and maybe something, I know it's hard to pass here, but there are some anecdotes about adding camber to certain corners that can actually enable side-by-side racing through them. So just something to think about. And it doesn't just have to be gravel traps and whatever. There is some certain things you can do to corners to enable the cars to maybe, if they have to go a little tighter, be in the camber, a little higher, but not be in the, those kind of things.
Yeah.
You can mix it up a little bit. And I think they did that in China, didn't they?
Yeah.
When they reprofiled that track a bit, and it seems to work, So.
It did. I was listening to the drivers in the cool down room before they went to the podium, and I was listening to Max, and he was talking about a certain section of the track where there was some pretty significant crowning on that track.
Yeah.
In the center, which is interesting because then you've got, if there's crowning and you head in, and then you've got this off camber, and you're trying to load the front left on a right hander, and that's always difficult. And it's kind of interesting, and the bank corners are kind of interesting as well. Nice to see, but this is. It's tough to pass. It's kind of old school track-ish. They reprofiled it, but I got to think, and I think we kind of saw this Grand Prix started off as kind of a slow burn, right? And it got more kind of involved and interesting as it went on. And I have to kind of think that this track, Paul, it's, maybe not the world's most challenging track, but I think it probably is kind of, my hunch is, easy to kind of get it wrong here.
Yeah, I think it's one of those tracks where you're sitting on the edge of a Dijon, and then all of a sudden you don't have any, right?
Yeah.
As we saw with some of the crashes there, but there wasn't a lot of predictability. You were there or you weren't.
Yeah.
It's a simple track in theory, but you have, once again, the simpler the track is, the more perfect you have to be at every single corner, right?
We always talk about that in Austria, right? It
Right,
seems
exactly.
like on paper it'd be incredibly simple, but as you've said many times, that just means you have to be perfect.
Yep. You have to be perfect. And you're a little off on the setup, and you're way off on the pace.
Yeah.
Right. And, we saw some ebb and flow on the pace too, but it's interesting. I mean, it's got a track called Tarzan. How do you not like that, right?
You gotta love that. Yeah, it's great.
Yeah,
And you saw that on practice too. There just wasn't much in it, certainly between Lando and Oscar. I mean, I don't think you could slide a MasterCard through. Did you see what I did there with the new title sponsor? I don't think you could.
Nice.
Thanks.
Send you the check.
Yeah, Zach, I'm paying attention. I got you, buddy. So you slide a MasterCard, between them.
Mm-hmm.
They're just there, and ultimately ends up Oscar on pole by, what, we're talking about hundreds, thousands here. And there just wasn't much to play between the two of them as it was so close. And, maybe the strategy, I think, would have been kind of difficult given the softer compounds, but maybe not having sort of that pace differential in the car, and also on top of the tire pace delta between compounds. I don't know if that really manifests itself quite as much either.
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
but it's funny how people get kind of focused on the results of each practice session. Oh, Lando's been dominating the whole weekend. It's like, well,
and did, yeah.
I mean, just for a millisecond, and then Oscar dominated qualifying, and in the end, it is going to be that tight between those guys the whole season, right? And
you look at Friday, and I was thinking, okay, so Oscar's 0.2, a tenth behind, 0.3 behind, whatever it might be, and you think, oh well, Lando's got this locked up. He had a great race here last year, but when it came time to deliver, I kind of feel like those are the things that Oscar was doing, was just perfecting the sections of the track. Right. Getting that ultimate lap down for him. Not that Lando wasn't. Clearly Lando was too. But I think then when it came down to qualifying, he delivered.
Yeah. Oscar seems to be working on being more perfect more often.
Yeah.
And he's got a whole methodology behind it. It's pretty amazing how we've seen him over the past 2 years come back from, not being able to manage tires, not being able to qualify. He's taking all those negatives out and throwing them out the door.
Yeah,
and that's what's kind of getting in the results now. It is a fine margin, but the fine margins are where the mental strength, I think, is really coming forth.
Yeah, I agree with you, and I think I think back, Paul, when we saw Charles Leclerc come in, where he was struggling with tire management, chewing the tires up, those kind of things, and then it really kind of turned his craft around to where he's much better on tires and became a very good qualifier, in that sense.
Right.
So to watch those drivers develop, those particular things. And I think you're right. I think you could go back to the last couple of seasons and this season and really kind of connect those dots and watching Oscar perfecting his racecraft, in that sense. Well, let's talk about McLaren. We'll start off the top at the sharp end of the grid. You got Lando Norris at DNF. Unfortunately, Oscar Piastri in P1 took the win, converted pole position to win. Let's start with Lando first, Paul. Bit of a challenging race. Max on soft compounds got the jump on him at turn 1. That was a great move from Max. And then it took a while for Lando to repay the effort, and he ran behind Oscar for much of the race at this point. Even with a couple safety cars, he still couldn't get the jump on Oscar on track, and only really narrowed that gap between them a few times to around a second, 1.2 seconds, but never really was able to reel him in. I don't know if that was a dirty air issue or aero versus. I think that's certainly part of it. Certainly windy. You had some sprinkling of rain kind of to and from, but no deluge of rain or constant rain. The team didn't try any sort of cunning strategy here, Paul. You've got nothing between the two drivers. Lando enters 9 points down. Oscar's on pole position. How would I'm sitting home thinking, what does that tell me as a fan at home that you didn't try any sort of different strategy with Lando? Kind of like we saw at the last race where Lando was able to have that different strategy where on paper Oscar's strategy in Hungary looked like the preferred strategy, but Lando made that one-stopper work. And here they didn't seem to really try anything. And I can only assume that there was no cunning strategy really at play here. So, at that point, I think Lando looked set for a P2 finish. Unfortunately, what's presumed to be an oil leak and the engine ended his race, and it's brutal, Paul. It's a 34-point delta now to Oscar. And I think a lot of people are saying, at this point, is this a championship? Is this one of those defining moments that the championship pretty much is going to go the way of the Oscar? If it isn't, and certainly you could offer all the same sort of narratives and notions, Paul, that it's not over till it's over. Lando could come out, win the remaining races, whatever it is. Oscar could have DNF himself, et cetera, et cetera. All of that is true. But I would say, and I'm curious what your opinion is, that we've moved beyond them being close and just two great drivers battling out for the championship. I think now Lando is in that sort of, you're going to have to battle it out, win as much as humanly possible, and probably need some external help, in that sense.
To a degree. I mean, there's over 200 points available still.
Yeah.
I
Was
think
there 9 races left,
early,
something like that?
Yeah, it's still early days to say it's all over, and Lando.
I agree.
Lando could literally win every race and still win the championship, so it's still in his hands technically. But
I don't see Oscar rolling over like that, though.
No, I don't see that. But reliability, incidents on track, whatever. It swings and roundabouts. Hopefully, for the most part, between over a season. So if it was Lando's turn this week, maybe it's his turn next week, and it's all even square again.
Yeah, right.
I don't get too excited or too dismissive about how the championship's decided already yet. It's way too early for that.
Yeah, let me share you a quote. I don't know, I don't want to be reading too much into this, but Lando said this after the race, Paul. He said, quote, "It's just close. I have a good teammate. He's strong. He's quick in every scenario, so it's hard to get things back on someone who's just good in pretty much every situation. But yeah, it certainly hasn't helped the title race. It's only made it harder for me and put me under more pressure, but it's almost a big enough gap now that I can just chill out about it and just go for it," end quote. There is that element that, and I'm, excuse me, I'm not trying to read into that, but he is kind of right in the sense that he's just the out and out predator now, and he can just go for it. I mean, he's got nothing to lose at this point.
No, and mentally it's easier to chase than it is to defend.
Yeah.
That's why I always admire defensive drivers, just because it is mentally more taxing to do that. it's easy to see what you've got ahead and just kind of chase that thing. And ultimately, that's what he's got to do. He's just got to chase outperforming Oscar every weekend rather than just trying to keep himself in the game and work with this, It's probably easier also in the garage as well, where it's not so tight that maybe Oscar may relax a little bit. I don't actually expect that.
I don't either.
He wants this championship very tight, very, very much so, just like Lando does. So I mean, you got to see how the next 3 races, and that's what Lando, needs to do, is literally take it race by race rather than start projecting what's going to happen race 6, race 7, race 8 before the end of the championship, right?
Yeah.
So that does make it simple for him. He has to take it one race at a time. Oscar has to protect his bank of points. So he definitely has a different approach to Lando.
Yes, and
For now.
Yes, and I kind of feel like, now I could be way off on this, and mea culpa if I am, but in the history of Formula One, you and I have watched Formula One for a long time. Decades.
Very long time. You're a bit longer because you're older than me.
Yeah. Right. Yes, but you have more tribal knowledge of it because you grew up in the UK. And
That's true. I actually was.
Your family was in. Yeah.
Even though I'm much younger than you, I
much younger. Yeah.
Yes.
By a handful of months. But you and your family has been involved in racing your entire life. So I was just a dork sitting at home watching it, jumping up and down on the couch. But we've watched it for a long time, many, many, many years since we were little boys. And the reality of it is that every team that has 2 incredibly good, whether it's Pro Senna, or Alonso, Hamilton, whatever, pick a great pairing, that were battling hammer and tongs for championships.
Mansell Piquet.
Juicy
one.
yeah, that is a juicy one. So when you think about this, all the teams have said the same thing that Zach and team are saying. Well, it's about papaya rules, and it's the team, and we're not going to let them just go out and do crazy stuff, and we're going to manage that. We want both drivers. They have all this sort of, corporate, discussion about how all this is going to be managed to be fair and blah blah blah. World champions are selfish by design, and they have to be to win world championships, right? And at some point, this could be Lando/Oscar's only chance at winning a title because you don't know what the regulations are going to do next year.
Right.
And so at some point, if you're Lando, I have to think you're the hunter now. Oscar's in defense mode. He has to protect his points, meaning he can't do stupid stuff. And Lando, I feel like, can go at this with his elbows out. We'll bang wheels. We'll go through. Doesn't matter to me. I'm going for the win, and I'm going for the title. And I think this is where those things break down. Like Rosberg and Hamilton in 2016, right? The team, think about the team. It isn't about the team at this point. Team's got constructors locked up.
No, and in the end, who takes home the trophy? And how does that live with you for the rest of your life? If you're an F1 world champion, and
that's right.
Both those guys know for a fact this is their best chance to do it.
Yep.
Because you can't foresee in the future, and especially with the rule changes, you just don't know where they're going to end up. So grab it while you can, as we saw with Hamilton. Right?
Yep.
As soon as they didn't have the advantage anymore, he wasn't winning championships.
That's right. Yeah, it's not because he forgot how to drive.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
The car and the package is as important as the driver is.
For sure. And I got to think Lando, it just depends on how he approaches it. You'd say, well, he could go in and just start throwing it on the inside and banging wheels and all that. But, on the flip side of it, if he feels like he wants a long-term career there, that may not be a great move to do.
Yeah.
To the team.
Honestly, that's a juvenile approach to it. What people think, I'm just going to throw it in there because, no, they're at that level because they actually have a little bit of, be able to hold back just a little bit in the right situation and read situations, right?
Yeah.
Lando isn't throwing it off the road every corner because he's trying to find the limit. he knows where that is, and he knows what's a good choice and not a good choice. Kind of actually what happened in the first corner here with Max.
Yeah.
There was a few last year maybe that he would have actually fought him a little harder, but
Yes.
he did not.
And interesting,
by him.
when Lando repaid the favor and passed Max didn't put up a big fight.
Right.
Max is like, he's quicker. I mean, it's just the reality of it.
Yeah.
And most people thought, oh, wow, Max would have ran him off the road. I don't think so. But let's talk about Oscar, too. Oscar, a fantastic weekend for him. Pole position, convert that to a win. He walks away at a 34-point lead. Looked about 3/10 off kind of during Friday practice, et cetera, as I mentioned earlier. But then he ends up taking pole position when it counted. A great drive for him. He had a decent start, positioned himself, I thought, very well. When you looked at what was going on behind him with Max and Lando, either of them could have got around inside or outside. But I kind of felt like he moved over to cover Lando, and then when Max came around the other side, moved to the outside after he got through the apex and got, I'm not saying he was braking or he's moving under braking. I'm just saying he defensively guarded that all the way through turn 3, and I thought that was a good defensive move to hold the lead at that point. And then, he held them off. He held everybody off the entire race, throwing even a couple of those good safety car restarts. Got those, held everybody off after the restart. It seemed on Sunday Oscar just had the pace to keep Lando and everyone behind him, even at those restarts. And he equals his manager, Mark Webber, with 9 wins. So,
quickly that's happened, right?
Yeah, gosh, that was quick, wasn't it? It took, it took Webber a career to get in finally to the right team that gave him wins, and even then, they didn't come fast and furious because they had Vettel there. But
right, exactly.
Yeah. So
exactly, yeah, no, his starts were great. His restarts were very impressive and very well thought out. Very similar both times. He just, he makes the maneuver left and right, and then he knows exactly when he's going to go, and no one can get the jump on that mentally. You can't predict when he's going to go, so he was always safe there.
Yeah.
Did just enough with the pace. I mean, that's not easy. I mean, probably driving perfect laps because Lando was pushing to drive perfect laps to catch him, and then once they got back bunched up for the restarts, any buffer he had earned himself was gone.
Yeah.
And so he had to get that gap. I don't think Lando ever got within DRS zone. I know he got awfully close.
He got really close at one point, but I don't remember. I think at one point he was like 9/10, but it was after safety car,
not at the right point.
Not at the right point, because I think it was the next lap that the DRS was enabled after the safety car. So.
Right, and Oscar knows all this stuff. He's got eyes in the back of his head and measuring what Lando's doing. Lando's pushing obviously very hard, and may have been different if he got in the DRS zone. I don't think so. I think still Oscar was in control of that race, but you just don't know till you see it. And unfortunately, due to the expiration of the engine, that we never got to see that. But it was closer than it had been at the end of the race before Lando went out. So it was getting exciting.
It was.
I would have liked to have seen what would have happened if he had got in the DRS zone and seen how tight that battle would have kept going.
Yeah, me too. Oscar, magnanimous about it though. He said, I felt in control throughout the race and was able to push and save where I needed to. However, it's incredibly unfortunate for Lando, as you never want to see your teammate DNF or gain points in that way, end quote.
Right.
So yeah, it was.
You're not sad about it either.
yeah. I'm sure you're not torn up about it, but
Zach told me to say, I don't want to win this way.
Yeah, I think the PR team did a great job with that quote.
Yeah, it's funny because when when we're racing, someone has trouble, you don't celebrate, but you're not unhappy about it. It's not like you're saying, I really wanted to race them. No, you're thinking, great, they're not going to get any points this race. This is going to help us, But you don't jump around for joy, but you definitely aren't sad about it.
Yeah. So when
that's how racing goes, right? It swings and roundabouts, as I said earlier.
Yeah.
It gets you sometimes, and you get the others sometimes. You just kind of accept it and move on, and it shouldn't diminish anything that you achieve if someone else has problems.
So I'm assuming, Paul, when the green Rexy Porsche has a DNF or a failure, you're not sending condolence cards with a bouquet of flowers.
No.
To AO Racing. Yeah.
Yeah, no. Well, luckily we're not racing against AO in the championship this year.
Yeah, right.
It's the 57 Winwood car who just keep winning, which is really annoying.
Yeah, well, that's a BOP issue, let's be honest.
Yeah, but they keep winning. We can't beat them, so
yeah.
You just hope that it'll come around. When we've had trouble, they haven't. We're hoping he'll reciprocate at some point.
Yes, that would be nice. Let's see. Red Bull, Max Verstappen P2, Yuki Tsunoda in P9. Max and Yuki both started on soft compounds, Paul, figuring that it might be, kind of the only shot they really get to get up the grid, right? They were kind of positioned, where they were, and it was going to be tough for Yuki to, get up through all the traffic, and it was going to be tough for Max, really, starting where he started, to try to get into the lead, to try to get ahead of Lando, those kind of things. So they put them both on soft, and it worked a treat for Max. He jumped Lando at T2, even with some theatrics. He said there's a lot of sand on that part of the track, and
that's some big theatrics.
That was some big theatrics. And he took P2 for a while. Max made the most of his pace, ran third for the rest of the race once Lando got around him. And so he was running third for most of the race. And even really, despite putting on more softs there at the last safety car, he still really couldn't make those, couldn't get around Oscar, couldn't make those work for him. So ended up in P2. He said, look, from where we were on Friday, it was good. He said, quote, "For me today, the highlight of the race is the first half when I was trying to get a spot and overtake. It was good to initially get the overtake, but after Lando passed me again, I knew we had to manage our tires and our pace for the rest of the race and keep everyone behind," end quote.
Yeah. I think that soft was, it was like a 5-lap tire.
Yeah.
And you had to make some magic then. And definitely, as the tires were on, even when the McLarens are on hard and he's on softs, the pace differential was just too great for Max to make that big a difference and be able to take them on. Really, I think he gave it a go. You never know what's going to happen in the race, full tanks, all that kind of stuff. You don't know for sure how everyone's pace is. So he gave it everything he could, but in the end, after about half the race, he pretty much knew that he had nothing for the McLaren. So the rest was just kind of managing the rest of the race, which ended up being P2 in the end.
Yeah, right. And that's why I was kind of thinking, the pace offset between compounds wasn't quite as great as I was thinking it might be. But
Right.
And then I'm not blaming it on Pirelli's. Max's car didn't have the pace either, but anyway, but even on those soft tires, the restart, there, you're right, Paul. Right immediately at the restart, he lit those up, had them in the window pretty quick, and was as close as he got all race. But then, boy, it didn't last long. It didn't last long. Let's see, for Yuki, he had an issue with throttle during the safety car periods. Something about, I think his throttle was for about 40% of the throttle, it was nothing, and boom, it was
right.
on.
That's what it sounded like.
Yeah.
Like a mapping issue.
Yeah.
Somehow.
So, but he's still tormented the top 10 all day and ended up in P9 with Lando's DNF, so that wasn't too bad. He had to overtake a Gasly. Everybody was pretty excited about that. In fairness to Pierre, though, Pierre was much older tires.
He was very old.
So I don't think I would be, putting that on my CT. He had an incredible pass of Pierre Gasly at Dutch Grand Prix. I don't think so.
No.
But it's his first point since Imola, Paul, so you can't keep a good Yuki down.
Yeah, but considering attrition, I still think he's not really making any gains.
He had 3 cars ahead of him out.
Yeah.
Yep.
So I didn't see a big difference in what he's achieving, honestly. You don't really want to blame it on Yuki anymore. It's the team aren't able to give him a car good enough.
Yep.
For whatever reason. So he's kind of stuck with that. Be careful what you ask for, right? I want to be a Red Bull driver.
Right.
Maybe I won't. Maybe I don't.
I think I'd rather be a Racing Bull driver.
I think I would.
Yeah.
It is intriguing. People say, why doesn't Max test the racing ball? I don't know.
I don't know. You should.
I think he should.
Yeah.
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 I really do. Yeah, put him in as the Friday test practice one driver or something. Yeah.
I think that's what Karun was saying during one of the Friday practice. He said,
Yeah.
when Racing Bulls has to put a different driver in, put Max in that and let him run it.
Yeah.
And see what it's capable of and see what he can do with it. Yeah, I thought it was pretty funny.
Yeah.
Let's see. Let's talk about Racing Bulls. You got Liam Lawson in P12, Isaac Hadjar in P3. Unfortunately, Liam had that clash with Carlos Sainz, leaving Carlos to say this.
Who gets a penalty? Me? Are you joking? You're joking. I mean, it's the most ridiculous thing I've heard in my life.
And he said a lot of ridiculous things.
Yes, he has. So that dropped Liam out of the points. And I feel like that was a missed opportunity for Red Bull to have all 4 cars in the points today, really.
Yeah.
I think Liam probably would have been on for being in the top 10. A few safety cars later and some strategies really kind of moved him from last up to P12, and you had the DNFs that he benefited from.
Probably
Not
a P7 or something like that.
Yeah, not a terrible recovery on his part, given what happened. He had 3 DNFs, so maybe he really finished P15 and here at P12. But either way, I kind of feel like, with Isaac up in P3, P4, running P4 before Lando went out, I kind of felt like Liam would have been in that, like you said, P7, P8, range.
Yeah, definitely point scoring.
So, how'd you see the incident, Paul?
I think it's unfortunate. I think the penalty was a little harsh. I understand the law, the penalty, that Sainz wasn't alongside enough for Lawson to give him room. I think Sainz should have, as I said, it's one thing to be right, it's another thing to not take damage and be able to fight for the next corner, right? So he probably should have seen the writing on the wall and kind of tucked in, but it was really close. It really was. And Liam obviously was moving out, as he had the right to do according to the rules. But I think both of them, if they'd just given each other just a little bit more, they could have been fighting, and both have been in the points.
Yeah.
And that's the decisions you make as a driver, right? It's like you don't know that it's going to be a crash. You're fighting, you got your elbows out against your competitor, and you hope they're going to back off and you're going to get through it. And sometimes it just doesn't happen. And that just seemed like that's what that was. They were both fighting hard. They were both not giving in. And but I also just don't think the penalty is worthy. I think, according to the law, sure, but I don't know. It was harsh, I think. I think it could have been I would have deemed it as a racing incident, because I don't think either of them were doing anything egregiously wrong. It's just that they got their wires crossed fighting for the same piece of asphalt.
Yeah. So I agree with you. I think it's kind of a racing incident.
Yeah.
Although, let me play devil's advocate.
Okay.
So I'm not going to name names, but there's another, F1 media outlet, and I went and watched their take on it, and they just said the penalty's just not on. I mean, we don't like that at all, and they said, yeah, okay, maybe it was according to the guidelines, but the penalty is uncalled for. You don't always have to call a penalty. Fair enough, understand that. I went to the same outlet a year ago when they published the new racing guidelines about passing on the inside-outside, and they went through the outside and said, we like this clarification. So what is it? Do you like it or you don't like it? And I'm not picking on them.
Who's got the they went down on it, right?
Yes, and I'm not picking on them per se. They, this is their day job. This is what they do for a living in F1 journalism. But what I'm pointing out is this is why there's the letter of the law and then the spirit of the law. And before these guidelines were ever done, it was kind of left to the stewards to sort of judge the context of the incident. And where you and I, or Grace and I, got frustrated is that it used to be judging the context and whether the pass was on, and you had a professional driver who would say, look, you came around there, but, Liam's already picked the apex. He knows trajectory, and he has already chosen the speed he's going in the corner. So he can't just magically turn more right,
Right. Correct.
That's not going to happen. And so that's the nuance and character of a stewarding decision that you would have seen in the past, usually.
Mm-hmm.
But then I kind of, Grace and I got bent out of shape because then they just started stewarding the outcome of an incident. Well, that was not a big deal. No penalty. Oh, wow, that was a crash. That's a huge deal, That's, so outcomes instead of intent, right? And that got frustrating. So now we've come up with this passing on the outside. You have to have your front axle alongside the other driver's front axle. And you can't just late brake and lunge in to get your axle up against the next axle at the apex because the inside person's already picked the apex speed and trajectory, right? Mm-hmm. So and this is what everyone has been screaming about, is that, the rules and there's no consistency. Well, then this is consistency. Mm-hmm. And yet everyone on social media is just apoplectic, including Carlos Sainz, about the decision, right? However, I agree with you. I think in the old school F1, it's a racing incident. And I think that's how James Val sees it. That's how you saw it. That's how I saw it, too. But it's sort of careful what you ask for, kind of what you said a little bit ago. You wanted definitive black and white rules, then those are them, you know?
It is.
So, I mean, I hate to, be a jerk about it, but what do you want? Mm-hmm. Is this what you want?
Is this what you want?
So, it is what it is.
Yeah,
all right.
It is.
Let's see. Well, he doesn't think so.
No, it cannot be, Ricky.
Cannot be, Ricky. Huge victory for Isaac Hadjar, as Isaac had a tough weekend on Friday. He even had the engine problem, Paul. They had to all new engine. Then he had to stop on track. Just a tough Friday. I thought, oh man, while Liam was doing well on Friday, and I thought, oh man, this looks like it could be a tough weekend. He didn't get much running time in for a rookie, but turned it right around in qualifying. Had a great qualifying in fourth, then held that position for most of the race, despite, Paul, all of the pressure that he would have had from Charles Leclerc and George Russell, two very, very capable drivers in their own right. Right?
Yeah.
And yet he held them all off. He held fourth place. Sure, he inherited the podium, but, you got to be there to take advantage of a situation like that. Mm-hmm. He very easily could have dropped from fourth down to seventh, eighth, and had a good race. And you and I would have said, great race. But to do what he did, hold on to fourth, inherit third, I just thought it was a great result for this young guy who started the season off pretty tough.
Yeah, I mean, it was spectacular for sure. I mean, think about, as you said, the people he was running against. Yeah. Fighting off Leclerc and Russell. And chasing basically on the tail of Max, which is what Red Bull have wanted Yuki to be doing the whole time.
Exactly.
Right? So, I mean, it's not just about pace. Qualifying is one thing. It's about kind of what we talked about, Oscar putting the whole race together.
Yeah.
And being able to, not crack under pressure. And he didn't. And he's a very young guy. And, we've talked about the new realm of Formula One, all these new drivers. No one had Hadjar on their bingo card at all. But now he is.
Right.
You can't, it's not a one-off. We've talked about him for several races where he's I didn't even know much about him till this year. And honestly, we were kind of scoffing at him after the first race, but he's proved us all wrong and proved even the people that hired him wrong. Yeah. They weren't having these expectations either. It's not like they knew they had this little diamond here and wait till we release, into the F1 world. He's just stepped up everything. And to be fighting with those people is so impressive. And as I said, he cannot be ignored anymore as a potential threat every race weekend.
He's got to be. And I know he's kind of had the last couple of races kind of been a little bit of a lull. I think Liam's kind of been on top of it. But that ebb and flow is, you expect that. But I think on balance, he's just really seized this opportunity, and what I appreciate is he's making the absolute most that he can of it. And really doing a great job. So big kudos to Isaac. I just think a great race weekend, deserves all the accolades he's getting. And to be fair to Liam, I think he said, as for my race, and this is a Liam quote, he said, as for my race, I'm really disappointed that the incident took place. The steward's decisions echoed the rule book, and unfortunately, Carlos wasn't ahead of me at the apex. And then he said, but I'm really excited for Isaac. He had a great race, and the team has been working so hard, and it's great to see. So he was very magnanimous about that, too.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, it was great. And, a big hat tip to Alan Permain, Paul. First podium as a team boss. He's been in the sport for a long time, and he's certainly paid his dues. And to have him now the team boss of Racing Bulls and take a podium is great. It's fantastic.
He inherited a good team already.
He did.
He's only just polishing it at this point. It's amazing. Really, really strong what these guys have done this year. Putting out that car and the drivers performing within it.
Yeah, I agree. So kudos to all the men and women for Racing Bulls. You did a great job. Let's talk about Mercedes. George Russell, P4, Kimi Antonelli, P16. We'll start at the top with George. George was hanging in there, battling Leclerc for much of the first half of the race, but that lunge down the inside from Charles left George with some floor damage, which the team reckoned was costing him some serious pace. I think George at one point said it was like a half second a lap.
2 seconds a lap it was costing me. I won this race.
I've seen him say two different things, half second, then I heard him say a second. So, but anyway, he had floor damage. They reckon that was costing him pace, so they ordered him to swap position with Kimi, right?
Mm-hmm. And I think they did have him.
They did, and he did. At first, he was kind of like, what? And if I'm George, I'm thinking, what time out here, Chief? But he did. He let Kimi by. Then he kind of set in, knew what his pace was. He managed that pace, fought hard, just trying to get Hadjar. Didn't have the pace to do that. Ended up grabbing P4. I think he said, look, this I'm not happy with it. I'm not pleased with the results. It's it was a bad weekend. Period. I was going for podiums and not happy about it.
Yeah, better weekend than his McLaren buddy, but yes. So I think the damage, obviously, I think it set him off, and obviously didn't allow him to fight that hard. But I don't know if he could have expected too much better than what he got, honestly. But the fight with the clerk that Leclerc pass was bonsai for sure. 2/3 of the car was actually on the gravel, so I think did they actually even bother making a decision about it afterwards? Or
I think they reviewed it, but I don't think I think there was no penalty or anything given.
Yeah, that's surprising because that's he pretty much drove off track to try to make that happen.
Yeah, there was some discussion on Sky. It was one thing you could say, well, did he have, was that just a lunge or whatever? But then, the other part of that discussion was he well off track and gaining an advantage?
Yeah, absolutely, he was.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think that was a legitimate pass. George was surprised by it, rightfully so, and definitely Leclerc wasn't far enough alongside to try and make that maneuver work, and Russell wasn't going to give him any inches anyway. So,
but he ended up here, Paul, and you'd have to watch the YouTube podcast. I'm showing a picture of him. So so in the end,
lots of memes come out of that baby.
Yes, they did. Yeah. With the grass and the hill and he's sitting on and all the photographers, it almost seems like someone said it was like a Ferrari safari photo shoot and
or an album cover from 1974.
Right. I was
Leclerc, Whispers in the Grass, new album coming out next.
Right. Pastel Thoughts. It's like an easy listening album from the late 70s, right?
Yeah, lots of acoustic.
Right.
Absolutely.
Oh, boy.
Very little cowbell.
Yeah, right, very little. Let's see. George's teammate didn't do much better. Kimi was allowed past George to take the fight to Leclerc, and then they boxed him for fresh rubber to try to hunt him down, to try to hunt Charles down. But Ferrari covered that stop and came out ahead of Kimi, who then lunged down the inside of turn 3, got understeer, slid up, and took Leclerc out of the race. And they gave him a 10-second penalty for that. But he wasn't done there, Paul. The youngster was also caught speeding the pit lane, got another 5-second penalty. That dropped him down even further. So despite finishing the points, he dropped down to P16 with all the penalties.
Yeah, it's a shame because he had a really strong first half of the race.
Yeah, he did.
I mean, he's had a really rough go of it, and he really just needed to get to the finish, get in the top 5, whatever. But that lunge was just a little bit too much. You got to account for the fact of, if you go in too hard, you're going to understeer up on the other car, and that's exactly what he did. I mean, it wasn't a big lunge. It wasn't a Liuzzi and turn 1 at Monza kind of deal, but it's always fine margins in those places, those times, and he just got it wrong, and Charles maybe could have been a little higher, but what he's not expecting also the Kimi to be up there either. So I think just Kimi went in, had a little too much pace, got a little understeer. There was no way of checking the car up, as we always say, in the middle of the corner. Once you're there, you've kind of set the stage for where you're going to end up. And he ended up in the back of Charles. And 10 seconds doesn't sound like a good enough penalty when you got a Ferrari wrecked on the other side of the beach. But for intent versus outcome, it's probably the right penalty.
Yeah.
But Kimi's got to get his head around this. He's got, as I said, he'd had a really good weekend, and he's just got to know when not to keep pushing, know where that limit is, and know when you need to finish the race and stop banging some points in. And you're not going to do that by going for every fine margin option.
Yeah, I agreed. And he's taken kind of a beating in social media and stuff like that. I think that's probably a little unwarranted, in my opinion. I mean, we saw Max make the same kind of mistakes when he came into F1. He made plenty of these mistakes. Dove down the inside.
He also got a lot of aggro from the outside too.
He did get a lot of aggro. He did. But, got a reputation for it. But, they've all kind of done that, getting their sea legs. And so on one side, I'm apologizing, or at least I'm being an apologist for him. And I think Total Wolf said, we want him to go for the moves. And these are just things that, we expect as part of the learning curve. He just celebrated his 19th birthday, for crying out loud.
Yeah.
On the other
thing you don't want to do.
Yeah, go ahead.
The thing you don't want to do is just kind of, he's young and he gave it a go, and you have to pull him back or sit down and talk to him sternly about how to read the situations. You can't just go, he'll figure it out. He's a fast driver, blah, blah, blah. There has to be a time when you start going, hey, stop it.
Yeah, right.
Let's when you're in the situation, let's just think twice before you kind of make those moves in future, because you can't do these things consistently and stay in Formula One. Right.
And I'll guarantee you that conversation happened to Max at Red Bull. I'll guarantee that.
Yeah, I've had to have those same
You've
situations.
Had them.
And if you don't say it, then you'll regret it. Yeah. And if the driver's not strong enough to handle it, then they're not a strong enough driver to be in your team.
Yeah. Right. And I feel like in one sense, I can be an apologist for him and say, oh, gosh, that's just, he's rookie and he's learning. Flip side of that, when you juxtapose that with what Isaac did, other rookies didn't, punt Ferraris off the track. Ollie Behrman had a great race, didn't punt anybody off the track. So maybe that isn't a good enough excuse. He's a rookie. Let's see. Speaking of Ferrari, what a race for Ferrari.
Not good enough, damn it. Not good enough.
I mean, really,
how did we get to Ferrari this soon? They should be in the bottom, shouldn't they?
I know. I just chucked him in here because I felt like you called me out on this, Paul. Damn it, I put him here because this is where they should have been. I know.
Get in there, Lewis.
You're breaking your own rules.
I am breaking my own rules. Yeah. Is my Ferrari bias showing? Damn it, this is where they should have been. Yeah, they should have been at the last. I can skip them and we can come back, Paul.
No, let's do it now. We've started it now.
All right. A dual DNF, by the way, for Ferrari. Charles had a good start jumped Russell early on, lost a spot to Russell during that first stop. Then he made a lunge down the inside, got George back at the apex, and a brilliant, uncontroversial pass, Paul, that wasn't outside of the track limits or gaining a position. No, yeah, it was
Not at all.
It was a lunge. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
But anyway, he made. George is like, what the. So anyway,
I was like, he cannot be angry at that.
Yeah.
Kinda.
Yeah, kind of he could. Yeah, I kind of sympathize with George. That was pretty aggressive. Although on the flip side, it is Charles Leclerc. I like Charles, and he's driving a Ferrari, and which already would just piss you off. And so he's driving a little red mist out there trying to get back. But anyway, despite that, the team boxed him to cover Antonelli's stop, and then Kimi took him out at turn 3. What was interesting was his radio after the crash, when he says, that was not necessary. That was not necessary. The tires are fine.
Right.
Not necessary. And the Sky team missed the context of that. But Bernie, she caught it. And so she jumped in and said, well, wait a minute. No, what he was scolding the team that he was saying that his tires were fine. They didn't need to box to cover Kimi and put him in that position with a rookie.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And he's right.
He is right. And I was listening to the F1 TV thing, and Jordan Palmer was, when he saw Kimi box, he said, well, I certainly don't expect Ferrari to box and react to this. And then all of a sudden they did.
Yeah.
Knee-jerk reaction. And it's another kind of botch on Ferrari. They had so much, it's a track position is very powerful here, right?
Yeah.
And they had decent tires, and when Kimi boxed, he did it because he had nothing to lose.
Right.
But Charles did. He had track position. He had 15, 20 seconds on Kimi at that point, and he wasn't going to lose it. Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
this is, Grayson and I just talked about this in last week's podcast. We're talking about Ferrari's strategy. You guys,
yeah.
I don't know what's going on there, but things like this and the things we saw in the past, you don't need to do that. And
Right.
I don't know why they did that.
It's like they start with a clean sheet of paper every week, and they don't learn from the past. I really think Charles puts them on edge, as does Lewis.
Yeah.
On making the wrong decision. So I think sometimes they feel like they need to make a decision rather than not make a decision.
Yeah.
If that makes any sense.
It does.
They feel like they need to be seen as doing something to fight everything off, and it just wasn't a well thought out plan. They just reacted in a split second. Mercedes had all the time to come up with that plan.
Yep.
That we're going to box early, we're going to put the softs on, and let's see what we can do with Kimi. But Ferrari had 60 seconds to react to that plan.
Right.
And they did so wrongly. So
yeah, I agree with you. I'm not sure what happened. Well, I know what happened. I saw it, but not quite sure. Lewis, he had a tough weekend. Like Charles, had a decent start. Feeling better this weekend, I would say. He was, he was kind of, his dauber was down out of Hungary, and team should replace me kind of talk and that kind of thing. But anyway, he came back this weekend, seemed rejuvenated.
But not take the money back.
Yeah. They should pay me out of their Kimi Räikkönen fund to leave. But, he came back, seemed rejuvenated, even after the crash. I mean, it wasn't too bad. But unfortunately, that all went pear-shaped. And when the drizzle started, came down, I guess maybe the painted section was a little more slippery. Turn 3, slid up, hit the wall, out. Now, could happen to anybody, and that's true. Let me argue the other side of that is, this is a 7-time world champ. You wouldn't typically expect that from a 7-time world champ. Mm-hmm. So don't know exactly what caught him out or why. Other cars were going through the same thing, going the same lines.
At the same time. Same
time.
Slipperiness. It was a mistake once again.
Yeah, it happens, and I get it.
He's gripping that wheel tight.
Yeah.
Things aren't going well. Things have been going down. You're trying to make a difference, kind of like Charles doing the outside pass. You're trying to make a difference. And it just came a cropper on the. I still don't know why we got painted surfaces on racetracks. It's a silly idea. It's always treacherous.
Yeah, yeah, and those are big painted sections.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know that. I mean, I appreciate Aramco wanting their logo there, but really, you know, you could just put a single white line.
Yeah.
That would be better. So anyway, yeah, unfortunate for Lewis. I hate it that they hit the wall. You know, in Friday and Saturday, felt a little rejuvenated. Seemed more positive about it and everything. Then to hit the wall is kind of a bad deal. But anyway,
Yeah, not good.
let's see. Then we get down to Williams.
Who? Who gets a penalty? Me? Are you joking? You're joking. I mean, it's the most ridiculous thing I've heard in my life.
That was Carlos's race. Alex Albon at P5, Carlos at P13. Let's start with Alex. Alex had a terrific jump, and I like to pretend, Paul, that if you were driving in Formula One, this is how all of your starts would happen.
That's
You
what I
would
was always
start
trying to.
You'd start right off and jump 5 places on the first lap. And that's what Alex did. Put him right up there with Carlos. You know, he didn't have the best qualifying, so he's back a little bit. Had those 5 places right at the start, put him right back up there with Carlos in the top 10. Things were looking great for a Williams dual points finish at that point. Carlos had his issue. We'll get in a moment. And then it was great to see Alex really overcome that tire performance window. He was struggling with that on qualifying and very upset on Friday and Saturday.
Upset.
Could not get the tires on the right lap at the right window, you know, and he was just really frustrated by that. So in the race, long run pace looked great, ends up in P5, a great run for Alex.
It is a great run. He's an interesting guy on the radio in the car, though, isn't he?
Yeah, he is.
Completely different personality than
He does.
outside the car with him adopting cats and
Yeah.
all this stuff. I'm not a big fan of how he talks back to the pit lane. There's a few drivers like that, obviously.
Yuki.
It just seems out of character for him.
I
And
know.
I'm sure they forgive him. I'm sure they will hug it out at the end of the day. But yeah, interesting.
You know, Max gets a little combative on the radio with GP, and Alex is combative, and Yuki was just, you know, all out insulting. But,
Yeah.
you know, for Alex, he comes across such a charming, nice guy, and I'm sure he is. You know, everybody that meets him is just a wonderful guy, and he's a real tiger on the radio, you know?
He is, yeah. Why
Yeah.
are we always doing this? Why are we always
Right.
messing this up? What's
Right.
going on? Yeah.
Right.
But yeah, great start, great
yeah.
execution, and made the most of the attrition for sure.
Yeah, and then we talked about Carlos. He had a good race going, then tried that overtaken loss, and that ended in
Right.
tears. After the first safety car, that happened. Then Carlos, you know, had a lot of harsh words for Liam and stewards. James Vowell said it was a racing incident. Sky Sports said they thought the penalty was ridiculous too. But like I mentioned earlier, the entire time I'm thinking, well, wait a minute. Isn't this what you wanted, right? So
Yeah.
you wanted clearly defined rules.
Yeah, it's good to see the Williams performing at this type of track.
It was.
Right?
Yes.
This is
Yeah.
that's
Think that'll
quite
hold
a
out over
difference.
Monza next weekend for Williams. Low drag, let them run.
Yeah, I mean, typically it would, right?
Yeah, it would normally.
But I think they've kind of committing to the all-round car now. They think they feel they're at the level where they don't have to give it all up for 3 chance races a year.
Yeah,
I think,
right.
You know,
Right.
you're not going to win championships like that.
No, you're going to just make payroll if you're lucky. Yep.
Yeah.
Let's see. Haas. Interesting race for Haas. You had Esteban Ocon in P10, Ollie Behrman in P6. We'll start with Esteban. Esteban started on the hard compounds, ran a long first stint. The team chose the track position during the first safety car, so it kept both drivers out, Esteban and Ollie out. And to your point, you mentioned it before, Paul, a little bit ago, that track position is so critical at this track. And so this is why teams like Haas and even Pierre Gasly at Alpine, that's why they chose to keep him out, trying to guard that track position, hoping that you'd have enough rubber on the tires to make it happen. So they they kept Esteban and Ollie out, and Esteban and Ollie ran long, waiting to see if there'd be
long.
Yeah, waiting.
So long.
It was very long, and you had
It was
to
like,
think.
come on.
They were looking for another safety car, right? It's kind of what I get.
Well, that's exactly, yeah.
And they did. They got it. And both drivers boxed again for fresh tires, with Esteban boxing first, but he got jumped by Ali when Ali boxed a lap later. So the undercut, or is that an overcut?
Overcut
Worked for Ali. So Esteban, at that point, fighting for points, and then Kimi's penalty dropped him down. Esteban nabs that P10. So good race for Esteban.
Yep, yeah, I said, it was. I'm sure it was really tough for those guys to hang on as they did, but they did hang on, and history from Haas would be their tyres would be done in 3 laps. Right?
Yes,
so they've obviously gone. They're way ahead of that at that point now.
Yeah.
But just I was like, come on, guys, it's been long enough.
I know.
But in the end, they put it all on red and
they did.
Went all in and I don't know if they were going to pit the last lap or whatever, but it was their only chance and ended up coming out to pay dividends for sure.
It really worked a treat, didn't it?
Shows you.
Yeah, and the same for Ali. Ali started from the pit lane, and he also started on hard compounds for that long first stint. Then the team ran mirror strategies at this point, very much kind of what McLaren was doing. They just ran mirror strategy with Ali and Esteban, and then Ali got the overcut done on Esteban during the pit stop. And Ali also had enough pace. I thought Ali looked terrific this weekend. Had a lot of good pace, made the pass on Pierre Gasly in defense of Pierre. His hard compounds had given up ghost like 10 laps ago. But he was able to get up to P7 and inherited P6 when Kimi's penalty came along. So, and Lando's DNF, of course. So, yeah, a good race. I wasn't expecting, but I was like you, Paul, with Ali and Esteban, thinking, they don't have the pace here. They're just going to leave him out, try to hope something happens. And then all of a sudden it happened, and it kind of worked a treat, put
perfectly.
both of them in the points.
Sure did.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah, it was great.
It's crazy.
Yeah. Ali said he wasn't expecting that. And he said, we definitely got lucky today for sure. So anyway, let's see. Aston Martin, Fernando Alonso, P8, Lance Stroll, P7. We'll start with Fernando. He had a bad start, got mired into a DRS train for a long time and was not happy about it. Told the team, you forgot about me. He wanted something else. He wanted the team, all right. And so this is what I love about Fernando. All right. Get the calculator out. Give me right now. Make a decision. Do something else. Yeah. This isn't working. Do something. I'm in a train, right? And they did. Yeah. So they boxed him, fresh tires. Then he sized his way back into the points, and then another safety car gave him track position, and everyone ahead of him boxed, and so this got him a great result up into P8, given where he was.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It was a bit cheeky though, because he was like, "You keep putting me in this train." It's like, well, you put yourself in the train by qualifying better, by getting a bad start
and a crap
start. They didn't put you there; you put yourself there. But I do appreciate the fact that he was or maybe I shouldn't appreciate the fact that he was the one that was instigating. Let's do something rather than the team. Thinking it. They were just kind of accepting their fate, perhaps. I don't know. We don't know what's happening back there. But for sure, Alonso spoke and everyone pricked up their ears and said, okay, we better think of something. He's going to be really mad when he comes home. So, and they did. And he pitted for new rubber and worked his way all the way back to the train that he was already in. Yeah. Right. But with a lot newer rubber. So it really did pay off for Alonso to be that whiny, but he did have a part to play in where he was on the track.
He sure did. He sure did. Lance had a really miserable weekend going. 2 crashes on Friday and Saturday. Just looked ragged, walking away during interviews. I mean, God, I don't have words, guys. I don't know. Don't ask me. Don't ask me. I don't get it, but whatever. However, Lance turned that miserable weekend into a P7. He was having a ragged weekend. Did better during the race, boxed early after the clash with Bortoleto, fitted hard compounds early, and everybody was watching that run, and ran a long stint. But I assumed at this point it's a 2-stopper from there. However, this undercut him into the points, and he got a free stop under the safety car. That kept him in the points for another P7. That's what he got in the last race. So he turned that around.
No, that is solid. That was a pretty disastrous weekend until that point, for sure.
Yeah, it was terrible. Yeah. Mechanics had to rebuild that car twice.
Yes.
I felt bad for him. That was terrible.
I'm guessing Lance wasn't there making cups of tea for him, though.
Apparently. Yeah. Alpine, Pierre Gasly, P17, Franco Colapinto, P11. Pierre was on a one-stopper, and it looked initially like it might work, but the last safety car, he took track position versus boxing, and then that safety car gave everyone behind brand new fresh tires. And that just didn't work. He sunk like a stone at that point. It was
he held on for as long as he could,
He
little
did.
trooper. But once one got by, it was done.
It was pretty much done. Franco, on the other hand, started on softs, ran toward the back, but the safety car period actually helped him get back towards the front. He didn't have enough laps really left to mount an attack on Ocon, but was thereabouts, in P11, and a better weekend for Franco. Given
Are you surprised to
Flavio's
see
comments.
him back?
A little bit, because I think when you go back and compare now his pace delta to Pierre versus Jack Doohan's pace, Jack was closer.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know what Flavio's deal is or isn't. I mean, if it was me, I'd say we've given Franco a great shot. And Jack was closer. I'd put Jack back in if it was me.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Let's see. And then we're down to Sauber. Gabriel Bortoletto, P15, Nico Hulkenberg, P14. Gabby looked like he might be in for a point after such a good qualifying session, but a late stop due to his hard compounds running completely out of grip dropped him out of contention. So, again, kind of like the Pierre Gasly thing, trying to run long, really cherishing that track position over fresh tires, and didn't work out for him.
Yeah, there's always a tipping point there, and they reached it.
Yeah, yeah, they did. Yeah, and then you had Nico. He didn't benefit from the safety car periods at all, and to be honest, everyone got a free stop. But they didn't do the timing of their strategy. Just the safety car and the strategy, it just didn't work out for him. Normally, he's the kind of guy that when you have 3 DNFs and you got some attrition, some things, he normally does pretty well in those situations. But pretty tough to take as the main rivals made the most of the race. Their main rivals made most of this race in the DNFs, and yet Sauber couldn't. And that's tough.
Yeah, Sauber, they just didn't have any exceptional pace to do something different.
Yeah.
And as I said, everyone's pretty tight in that midfield bunch.
Yeah.
So it's not like they were completely out to lunch, but they just didn't have anything that little bit extra magic or strategy for that matter to do anything.
True. All right, let's give away some awards. We typically like to do that. We usually start off with, move of the race.
Seriously, Todd?
Yes, I'm dead serious. That's what we do. Move of the race. Paul, what'd you get?
I'm giving it to Max for that first lap move on Lando. I thought that was
nice.
Sticking around the outside there. I mean, it was an impressive move nonetheless, and then being able to control the car in that situation and still keep the position. I mean, I think Lando was just like, okay, I'm out. This is gonna be a big crash.
Yeah.
And I think, and I think that helped Max keep the position, quite honestly. But the car control and the audacity to make that move, I thought was pretty fun.
Yeah, it was good. Yeah, that was a lot of fun to watch. My move of the race, I'm going to give it to Isaac. I think the move of the race is qualifying P4 and holding P4. There were much stronger drivers around him, and I really feel like that move and the team's move, Racing Bulls, the strategy was totally on song. Boxed, the pit stops were fantastic. Isaac held it all together, didn't crack under the pressure. And it just, for me, was kind of the move of the race to be able to not only qualify at fourth, but then hold that with a lot of pressure behind him. And I thought that was just a real heads-up move for him.
And I like the answer in his interview when, who was interviewing him, said, did you ever imagine all those years ago when you were racing that you would end up in P3? He was like, well, yeah. That's all I was imagining the whole time.
That was my dream. Yeah, it's always been my dream. Yeah.
And
I thought that
I
was
wouldn't be
funny.
doing this if I didn't think I could do it. I thought
Right.
it was great.
All right, next award is Donkey of the Race. Oh, yeah.
We'll do it live!
You got it. Donkey of the Race. Who are you giving it to, Paul?
I got to give it to Kimi.
Yeah.
Antonelli.
Poor Kimi.
Insult to injury, taking out Leclerc, you know, a bit of a botched move, but then also getting the pit lane speed.
Yeah.
Oof.
That's
Put
rough.
himself completely. I don't know if the pit lane speed would have kept him in the points or not, but keep your head on your shoulders there, boy. He's got a long way to go, I think.
I think so. You know who I'm giving it to?
Get in there, Lewis.
I'm giving it to Lewis. Oof. You don't expect a 7-time champ just to hit the wall and
throw
turn
it off
through
the road on his own. Yeah.
And the other thing you don't expect a 7-time champ is earlier in the weekend to ignore yellow flags and get a 5-place penalty for Monza this weekend.
Right.
So he not only put it in the wall, but he also got a 5-place grid penalty that's going to put him back in Monza. And it's Monza. Home race. I don't know. Bad weekend.
Ouch. Yep.
Tough weekend. Well, that means last award. Oh, yeah. Drive of the race. We like this one. Of course we do. Uh-huh. So, Paul, drive of the race. Who you got?
Isaac. Gotta be.
Yeah.
Gotta be. I mean,
I
the pressure
agree,
for a young kid. And not even in a car that's supposed to be in the top 3 manufacturers
for
out
sure.
there and doing what he did.
Yeah,
very,
for
very
sure.
impressive.
Very impressive. Yeah, for sure. I had Isaac. I could also give it to Ali. I think Ali had a great race. And hard not to give it to Oscar. Good grief.
Right.
Oscar had a great race. Walks out of there with 34-point advantage. It was a great race. So, but I agree with that. I think Isaac had a great race. Mm-hmm. All right. Well, are you ready for Monza?
I'm ready.
All right.
Was that the shortest race of the year? Monza?
Yeah, it typically is, right?
It's crazy.
Fast and short. I know.
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah. We should bring back refueling and double it up.
I'm all for that.
I know you are.
I like it. Want to mix things up. There's your answer. All right. Well, huge thank you to our Patreon supporters. We couldn't and wouldn't do this podcast without you. We are very happy and very excited to have you on board supporting us. If you watch this on YouTube, hit the like, hit the subscribe, the bell icon. It's free, folks. Not asking a whole lot. It's free.
Ring the bell.
Ring the bell. If you see us on social media, how about, sharing, retweeting, or whatever they call it now, re-Xing, or sharing.
They don't have to repost my food pics, though.
No, not your food pics. But, I mean, they could if they wanted to.
If they want to.
Yeah. You had chimichurri beef the other night, so.
Yeah, skirt steak.
Skirt steak. I know it is good, isn't it?
Yeah.
So, feel free. Share the love. Spread it. If you like the podcast, give us a good rating at your favorite podcast player. That is always appreciated. And we will be back. Paul and I are going to be back. Not very long. We're going to be right back talking about the Italian Grand Prix at Monza. Right back here. Mm-hmm. Same channel, and until that time, when we come back next week, we will see you then. This is Todd, a.k.a. Negative Camber, saying so long.
That's it, man. Game over, man. It's game over.